Hey, if you were hired back in 2022, you're going to want to see this. We're not here to talk about opinions or personalities. Nope. This is all about the numbers, the timeline, and the documented pay you lost. We're going to break down exactly how the last contract ended up costing some of the newest employees thousands of dollars in real money.
Let's just start with this number, negative $9,319.08. Now, this isn't some hypothetical guess or an estimate we cooked up. This is the actual documented financial loss for one single employee over the life of the current contract. And trust me, they are not alone.
And you know what? That person wasn't an isolated case, not by a long shot. This table right here shows thousands of dollars in lost wages for a whole group of agents hired in 2022. And keep this in mind, this is data from just one station. Just imagine this multiplied across the entire system.
So, that brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did this happen? How does a contract, which is supposed to protect you, actually lead to documented pay loss for the newest people on the job? Well, let's unpack the mechanics behind the money.
All right, to answer that $9,000 question, we've got to start with the basics of how pay is structured, specifically a system called pay progression. So, for pretty much anyone who isn't at the top of the pay scale, your raises are all about time. It's called pay progression, and it just means your hourly pay goes up in steps. You go from step 0 to step 1, and so on. And what triggers those raises? Your anniversary date. That date is crucial. If you delay the anniversary, you delay the money. Simple as that.
And guess what? That's exactly what happened. Here's how it went down. All through 2022, new agents are getting hired. Then, on December 16th, 2022, the new contract is ratified. And for all those new hires, this date became a massive turning point because a little provision tucked inside that contract fundamentally changed their anniversary dates.
And look, this wasn't hidden in some obscure fine print. Here it is, the exact language from the contract, from a document called a Letter of Understanding. It says that employees moving from Step 0 to Step 1 will receive a new anniversary date. That one sentence effectively hit the reset button on their pay progression.
And here it is. This is the actual document, Letter of Understanding, number 11. It was formally agreed to. It was signed. This piece of paper right here is the mechanism that delayed the raises for every single agent hired in 2022. It kept them stuck at lower pay rates for way longer than they expected. But believe it or not, that's only half the story.
Okay, so now let's dig into the second piece of this puzzle. It's another part of the contract that, honestly, on the surface, looks like a great thing for everybody. But yeah, there was a hidden catch. We're talking about something called the Me Too clause. The whole point of it is pretty simple. It's to make sure customer service pay stays comparable to other departments like operations and cargo. The idea is, if they get a raise, customer service is supposed to get one too. It's a protection to keep you from falling behind. So, fast forward to 2023, and boom, the Me Too clause gets triggered. Other work groups got raises, which should have meant a nice pay bump for customer service agents, but it didn't quite play out the way you might think. Not for everyone, anyway.
Okay, listen up, because this is probably the most important sentence in this entire explainer. The Me Too clause applied only to top-of-scale agents. I'm going to say that again, because it is the absolute core of the issue. The Me Too pay increase did not apply to everyone. It only went to agents who were already at the very top of the pay scale. So what did that do? Well, it basically created this two-tiered system right inside the contract itself. Let's look at what that actually meant for people on the ground.
So, on one hand, you've got the agents already at the top of the scale. They got their Me Too raise, checkmark, just like you'd expect. But then, you've got everybody else. The new hires, the mid-scale agents, their anniversary raises had already been delayed, and then on top of that, they got absolutely no correction from this Me Too clause. So think about it. If you're one of those newer hires, you just got hit twice. First, your regular step increase raise gets delayed. Then you get completely left out of this pay parity adjustment. There was no back pay to fix it, no adjustment to make it right, nothing. All right, so now we've got all the pieces, right? We have the delayed anniversary dates, and we have this limited Me Too clause. Now it's time to connect the dots and see how this all leads back to that big, ugly number we started with. And here we are, right back at this table. The mystery? It's solved.
These losses, ranging from over $1,000 to more than $9,000, are the direct result of those two contract provisions working together. This wasn't just some random accident or bad luck. It was literally written into the agreement.
And here's the really tough part to swallow. That money, it's gone. Forever. There was no, oops, let's fix that retro pay. There was no restoring your original anniversary date. Once that raise was delayed, the money you would have earned just vanished.
Look, understanding how this happened is step one, but step two is making sure it never, ever happens again. And that's where the power of every single employee comes in.
And the fixes? They're actually pretty straightforward. First, any future Me Too clause has to apply to all pay steps, not just the top. Second, there can be zero manipulation of anniversary dates, period. And third, there has to be complete transparency about details like this before anyone votes on a contract.
You know, this is exactly why that whole my vote doesn't matter idea is so incredibly dangerous. Staying silent doesn't protect you. In fact, when a lot of people don't vote, it can be spun as, hey, everyone must be okay with this, whether you even read it or not. So we'll just leave you with this. Next time there's a contract on the table, read the details, ask the hard questions, and get involved. Vote like your paycheck depends on it. Because now we have the receipts to prove that it absolutely does.